Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Elliot Ichimura, and I've just been informed that our recording is perpetually running, so we can go ahead and get started even though we're about 30 seconds ahead of the hour. We're almost at full seating capacity, so thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Just from introductions, we've got a couple of speakers planned for you today. Myself, Elliot Ichimura. I am the, just from an audio perspective, is it a little echoey? No? Okay. All right. So I'm the Global Service Industries Director. So basically, I'm responsible for project-centric organizations, specifically around professional service, architecture, engineering, construction, and media and entertainment spaces. I'm joined today by, I'll go to Ted first, the Industry Market Development Manager and Director for the U.S. subsidiary, also focused on service industries, and by our technical strategist, Sean Gallagher. So collectively, we're your presenters for today. The topic is really around Microsoft Dynamics solutions for project-centric organizations, and I say that in the holistic sense of Dynamics all up, or enterprise, Dynamics for the enterprise, if you will, and the more broad Microsoft platform. So that's the context for our discussion today. What we do want to do is share with you up front a little bit about what we mean when we say service industries. I gave you the really broad brushstrokes. We'll go a little bit deeper than that, so you have a better sense for what this space looks like. And we have some stats that we can share with you as well. We'll talk about what our solution story is. So when we go to market, what is the story we're telling to our customers? What is the set of solutions that we're offering? And what are some of the scenarios that sell, if you will? We'll also go into what are some of the keys to success and broadly what's in it for you, if you will, from a partner perspective. And somewhere in there, we're sandwiching in a set of demos, so you'll at least be able to see more tangibly what is it that we sell. So not just slideware, but demos that Sean will share with you. So from an industry's perspective, these are the three sort of major classes of industries. At Microsoft, we actually put professional services as well as the architecture, engineering, construction, and real estate, all under the broad category of professional services. But they're really clearly sort of distinct business areas. The professional services firms are very much offering the services to other commercial enterprises, to a lesser degree consumer, and of course public sector. But they are the, if you will, the white-collar, charged by the hour, project-centric organizations. And then in architecture, engineering, construction, and then on the real estate side, it's all about the life cycle and the value chain of structures. So it can go all the way from the developers up front at the top tier that decide on the locations and places to invest in, and then what to build, all the way through the sets of resources, the highly expert resources who do the design work, the build, and then ultimately with the real estate component, the facilities, maintenance management, and ongoing servicing of those assets after they've been constructed. So that really, truly the holistic value chain around structures. And then the third one is media and entertainment. We have this space really defined by, if you will, intellectual property more so. But it's the production of intellectual property and the monetization of it. And it's in the production of that intellectual property that you see the project-centric component coming out. There's a bit of a difference between the first two and the third. The first two, it's the execution of a project is what is monetized. So for most of you who are partners out there, especially systems integrators as well as VARs, you presumably charge on a project basis, whether it's time and materials or fixed fee arrangements, contingent fee arrangements, and so on. You are core to our market. You are professional services firms that we enjoy working with, and we love you all, and we would love for you to adopt our solutions. But that's the monetization of the project. On the right-hand side, you take the IP, you create it, then you monetize it, which is a little bit different. But you still have the project-centric component. Advertising is the one exception there. Advertising is more traditionally professional services because it's sort of a job-based model, and it's time and materials or fixed fee for a particular campaign executed and so on. So in case, those are our focus industries. Now, I'm going to get a little flack for this slide, but I wanted to put this up here because it's interesting. Some people don't really get how big the service industries really are. And so I'm putting up here one of our peers in the marketplace, if you will, and what their published numbers are in their their public financials. You'll see here that of their total business, services is the second largest business that they have. And this is an ERP company, and really gigantic ERP company. 15% of their business, approximately $2.7 billion in software sales to services companies. of which engineering, construction, and operations and professional services are explicitly called out. Indeed, there are other components in there as well. Just to give you a sense for the scale. Now, I also want to give you a little bit more information. So many of you, as partners, are thinking about, okay, great, so where am I going to go focus? Where should I put in my energy? And so a little bit of data to help you there. We won't go too deep on this. But this square here, the area represents essentially the amount of spend in ERP and CRM by specific verticals within this broader services industry space. And you'll see above the dotted line there, that is all of the project-centric organizations. They monetize projects and execution. Below the dotted line is where it's more about IP. They build IP and then they monetize it. As you can see, 2/3 or more is around executing a project and getting paid to do so. And that's sort of the core that we focus on today. And if you think about, in particular, out-of-the-box Dynamics AX, and what we can address there, it's in the red box there, about a $1.4 billion market that you can really go after with Dynamics AX right now. And out of the box, it does projects, it does the time and expense and billing and so on and so forth. And CRM plays across this whole space. So CRM doesn't get a call out separately. CRM has relevance for marketing and marketing automation, Salesforce automation, and so on across the entire space. Of course, the details vary dramatically if you're in, say, the broadcast space, cable and media, as opposed to in a professional services firm like a law firm. Completely different ways in which you use the technology, but it's absolutely ready for prime time in any of these industry spaces. And then from a size of market or segmentation of market, just a little more data for you. We can look at about 2.2 billion, so about a third to a little bit more than a third of the market is in what we would consider sort of EPG class market. So that's 1,000 plus PCs. The SMS&P segment, I'm using the Microsoft acronyms, hopefully you all are familiar with them, is roughly somewhere in that 1.7 billion, if you will, if you add between those two components of the triangle. And then 2.7 billion down in the SMB space. So that's how we'd kind of break out the marketplace. And you can all think about what your sweet spot is in terms of the clients or the customers that you target and where you fit within that segmentation, if you will, in a go-to-market perspective. For the US, we have a lot of sources of public data, so it's kind of nice to take a look at information. It's not always available for other subsidiaries in other countries, so we just want to throw this out here. It's a bit of an eye chart for those of you in the back, but the colors correspond to the service industries, verticals, if you will, that are growing. See, these are some of the fastest growing ones in the US market. So the top two green ones, I'll read it for you. Management, scientific, and technical consulting services at the top is the number 3 growing industry in the United States. And that's a non-trivial market opportunity as well, with about 1.5 million seats or more today in the marketplace. Computer systems design, about 2 million seats being 2 million employees, if you will. Next one there, computer systems and design. And then construction in yellow there is one of the behemoths from a people perspective, but they tend to spend a lot less per person because there's a lot of there's blue-collar labor involved, and they're also extremely good negotiators. So from a cost perspective, they will drive you down, but they aren't necessarily as sophisticated on the technology perspective. So there's a sort of a balancing act. If you come with the right proposition that just sings for them, they need it, they want it, then you have an opportunity to go after that market, even though they'll try to drive you to the lowest margin they can put on your side. So construction is third, then we have other professional and scientific, and then finally facilities and support services. But the main point to underscore here is that these are some of the growing industries in certainly mature markets like the United States, and this is also true in Western Europe and some of the more developed economies. And there's a high number of people, which means a high number of seats, which in turn means lots of licenses. And if you are selling direct to the customer on your paper, then there's a good take-home component of that software license for AX or CRM and so on. And if you're selling with Microsoft, there's the CSA fees as well as a SI that you can see there. So what's our approach to the market? Let me just take a quick poll here. How many of you are systems integrators? Okay, ISVs? Okay, so maybe sort of LARs and resellers. Oh, surprising number of you. Okay, so just quick call out. What other groups am I missing here? From a partner perspective, that just... Lars, yes? VARs. Okay, so good point. It's SI's VARs. So VARs, who are the VARs here? Okay, that accounts for a large part of the part I missed. My apologies. When we go to the market, and this is kind of what I'd like you to think about, depending on how you go to market and what your business is, think about these 4 quadrants here on the left, because hopefully they will all resonate with you as the sets of challenges that you have. When we look at professional service firms, basically we look at these 4 challenges on the left. First, business development. If you don't have a client, you don't have a revenue source. Everything else is moot. You got to have the client first almost. You need to have talent too, yes. But you want to have a proposition and a client who wants to work with you, who believes in what you have to offer, and that's where the revenue source comes from. So that's job 1, is to make sure that you have clients, you have happy clients, and you're developing that set of relationships. Number 2 is documents and resources, and the brain there is intended to reflect people as well. So it's human capital, intellectual capital. You have to have that value to offer, and it has to be more than what the competitor down the street has, and most importantly, it has to be more than what the customer has on staff. If you're 2 or 3 steps ahead of what the customer can afford to maintain on their staff, you're in business. You have a valuable asset to sell, and it's about making sure that you capture those, you develop them, you retain them, and you reuse them, and you figure out how not to rebuild the wheel, so how to reuse what you've done in the past. That's number 2, so upper right. Then projects and services is really about the life cycle of the project. So you've got a client who's willing to pay, you've got the right talent and expertise. Now the question is, can you execute with consistency, with repeatability? Can you cookie cutter or even industrialize the production of services? And that's what that 3rd one is about, is how to get to that level of efficiency so that you actually have known margins that you can go after with specific types of clients and specific types of projects. 3rd problem. Then the 4th one is financial control. And at the end of the day, if you do the first 3 right, in theory, the cash just flows. The margins flow, and you're doing well. Of course, a financial controller will say, oh, not so fast. I want to see the numbers. I need to have control. And there's always the chance that people are not really understanding what they're doing. So you have to have oversight. And that's what that 4th item in the red is about. It's about delivering that financial control and oversight. So that's the core set of challenges that every organization in professional services, so any one of you, depending on your roles, even if you're a reseller in a LAR, you have to have a story for how you address these. You have to have systems to address these needs. And then at the end of the day, you need to be able to look across all of those and see what is cause and effect between them. So if I have a problem with my margins, where's it coming from? Is it because I have too much turnover in my headcount and my FTEs, and the expertise is just running out the door as soon as they get trained up? They go off and get a better paycheck somewhere else? Is that what it is? Or am I mispricing my projects on the business development side? But if you don't have visibility across the different silos, you don't have the ability to make that assessment, if you will, of where the problems are and what to do about them, how to take action. Most organizations today have silo systems for each of those boxes. And they try to integrate between them to get information across. And the fundamental value proposition that we, from a dynamics perspective, bring to the market is, with ERP and with integrated CRM, you have the ability to look across the entire portfolio of your business and understand what's going on, get that visibility, and then learn where to take action. And over time, we want to help you be more proactive in terms of giving you systems that anticipate what your challenges and needs are, and then give you the information you need to act. So that's the left-hand side. In fairness, I tend to do this conversation, this slide, I can do in about an hour normally. So this is the super short version. On the right-hand side are what we would call the key trends in the marketplace. I'll do these in much shorter order. So client expansion. Your clients are probably moving into other geographies or other contiguous markets today. And the question on your mind is going to be, and on your leadership's mind is, should I follow that client into that market? Other geo, other market, contiguous market in the same geo, regardless, you have to take on new people, new capabilities, and or joint ventures or acquisitions and other things. And that's the question, when should you follow? Which clients are worth following because they represent the tip of the iceberg for a new market, and you know with real certainty that they are both profitable and attractive markets to go after. And that's what most of the CMOs and the line of business leaders we speak to are telling us, is that they want that visibility so they can make better decisions about where to invest next. Changing workforce, our HR directors of our clients are consistently telling us about divides that they see in the marketplace for talent. So generational divide is one of the key ones. But we see cultural divide, so those organizations that have offshore or have clients that have moved into new geographies, and they have to follow those and take on new organizations and new people in other places. They have a cultural divide that they have to overcome. So these are some of the and there's a digital divide as well, in terms of those who are techies by heart and understand technology, and those who take a lot of work in order to get up and speed on a new piece of software, for example, all of which affects their relative productivity. So these are all some of the sort of changing workforce challenges that customers are dealing with. Collaborative execution is very much about the life cycle of the project and the fact that transparency is brutally demanded now by clients. The expectation is that from clients is that you will have reporting and visibility to projects, but even more likely that I can put my people on the staff of your project and they'll be part of the project, which means that they'll have full visibility into what's going on. And we fully expect you to be delivering the way you say you will. So your marketing material said you have efficient, great methodology, fantastic way in which you manage the life cycle of a project, and here's what our people do, and here's how they report, and all the great things we do to ensure utilization and productivity and capture of knowledge, and we'll give that knowledge back to you when we're done with the project, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, how often have you been caught scrambling to put together that information you're going to give to the client at the end of the project to ensure that there's that knowledge transfer? And how often does the client say, you know, you guys said you were going to do that. I thought you were doing that all along. That was part and parcel of your process. Well, you have to live what you're marketing because the clients see into your day-to-day operations now, and increasingly so in a technology-based environment. So that's one of the key things, is how do you make the marketing spiel and the operational reality come together? And then lastly, agile adaptation is simply about, from a functional perspective in the organization, how are the different functional teams, finance, HR, operations, IT, how quickly can they respond to these changing needs and deliver from a systems perspective the kinds of capabilities and business process support that the firm needs in order to do the work that they're doing and to grow at the cadence and speed at which they want to. So that long story is even longer in about 18 pages in our white paper that you can download today on our dynamics.com site under service industries and download the white paper. You'll see the full story with more detail and examples and such in there. But this is what our customers are looking for, is to be able to address first the left-hand side to a level of competency necessary to be in business. And at about 80-20 rule, once they've got about 80% of the left-hand side handled and they're a stable working business, focus on the right-hand side. What's coming next? And from a leadership perspective, strategically, what do we need to do? So just to give you a sense before we talk about what our solutions are, what kinds of results clients experience in this space. So looking at our customers, these are, by the way, just the public stories that we can tell. Important thing is we have customers that are many thousands of seats that are not at the case study level or don't like to share in a public forum what they're doing. So keep that in mind. Network Equipment Technologies in the upper left, a smaller firm, but they started out with AX as their foundation. They invested in using Dynamics AX for their ERP and for efficiency and back office side. But then they invested in CRM on top of that, and Link too, by the way. And they were able to take the efficiencies they had to the back office and extend it into the front office, if you will, and create better client experiences that are ultimately saving them about, it's not 66%, by the way, for those of you in the back, it's 6.6. But we have hard numbers, 6.6% in annual sort of service personnel hours saved through greater efficiencies and the ability to take their client-serving front office staff and redeploy them in better ways. Upper right, feedback infrastructure, they got about an 80% automation benefit, if you will, in terms of taking 80% of their services, 80% of their talent management-oriented processes, especially the onboarding of new talent and getting them up and productive, and automating all of those processes. So the whole recruit to first billable hours on project process, they automated all of those within an AX context, and that's how they're driving efficiencies in their business. Ewing Cole got a 90% reduction in the time that it takes to create projects, if you will, and project quotations. And the key thing there is that they're able to take work breakdown structures from past projects that are representative of a kind of new project that a client has, and essentially do a copy and instantiate a new project with all of the structures and key components in order to be able to craft a new project and then proposal for a client. But the idea that in an ERP system you can copy and paste, just like you would do and open an Excel workbook and save as, same similar concept, that's what they're leveraging, if you will, but they're also doing it with templates. So it's not just about open save as, because you want to get consistency and repeatability and quality. So you get vetted templates around key types of projects, and that's what they're doing. And then lastly, Computer Aid is doing, took 15 or so different ERP systems and consolidated them and got onto one ERP system with AX, and they were driving about a 50% reduction in their billing cycles and their sales outstanding. So they are in a very more of a TCO-oriented perspective of getting to that consistency, lower cost, and efficiency in their business. So those are just examples of what some of our customers are doing. For more examples, each of these customers is one of our referenceable customers on the AX side. And when you get the deck, hopefully it will be a version that has the links embedded. So all of these have URL links to the case studies embedded in them when you click on them. And this is by the different industry categories. And also from a dynamic CRM perspective, again, by the different industries in which the customers are, we have public case studies and links to those case studies as well. So that's what our story is in terms of, or what our customers' needs are, if you will, and what we're driving to address. And what I'd like to ask Ted to do is to come up here and share with you what our story is. So what are we bringing to our customers in the marketplace and offering to them with our partners?
Okay. Well, thank you, Elliot. And what Elliot didn't say is that a lot of these slides that we're sharing with you are the slides that we use when we're going in to talk to a prospect for the first time and explaining to them our commitment and what we're doing. I realize the U.S. subsidiary is not the only market in the world. That being said, that's the one that I'm responsible for. And today we're the second largest industry for Microsoft Dynamics, okay, right behind manufacturing. And if you've been in this market for a while, I think that says something. A lot of demand, a lot of interest. So when we are out there in the marketplace and we're talking to companies about the solutions that we're bringing to market, we typically, if you're a typical professional services firm, the kind that are in the green, management, IT consulting, accounting, legal, maybe you're outsourcing, we'll talk to this slide. And we'll start over there on the knowledge management side. All these organizations must capture all the intellectual capital, the knowledge, the know-how, the methodologies, the templates that they're going to use for delivering on an engagement, because you want to be repeatable in how you're doing that. And so the functionality that you'd see there is, of course, SharePoint. You'll see Lync. Obviously, the Office suite will come into play. As you know, those integrate with AX out of the box. Skype can come into play there as well. As we go up to the top here with practice development, there we're really talking about traditional CRM. So your marketing activities, your sales and account management, the services to a degree if you're getting into that aspect of the business. But you're really all about capturing that client and then nurturing that relationship through CRM. As we go down to the left here in professional development, there we're getting into core HR to a certain degree, managing the talent that's within the organization, as well as actually placing the resources on an engagement. And then in service delivery, which is the bread and butter of what we're talking about for these organizations, because they're project-based firms, they're delivering on projects, creating the work breakdown structure, assigning the tasks to individuals, and then executing upon that work. And then firm administration is really the core financial management of the solution. So when we present this to an organization, in the bottom is, of course, AX in this scenario. That's what we're talking about with these organizations to kind of paint the picture of their business, and it provides really good talking points for a conversation. Now, just to show that we can take this to another level, you can see here we've changed this just a little bit. And this is the kind of view that we would provide if we're going to talk to an engineering or construction company. Okay, slightly different words that we're using here. Here we're talking about document management and collaboration. There's a lot of what we call RFIs and submittals and transmittals of information that's going between individuals. Equipment now becomes very important in these types of organizations, not just your human resources. And we're talking about projects and work that's actually on the job site. So we tend to change our message when we're going out here into the marketplace. This is a solution footprint, and it's just a sample. And if you combine that slide plus slides like this, we've created business development decks that are available for you to leverage as you're going out there into the marketplace, talking to firms that may be in a professional services space or in an architecture, engineering, construction space. These tend to work really well with organizations because you're representing their business and either what we call the workloads or the core business processes that are representative of how they see the world. You start with business development, and the color coding, if you've noticed, corresponds with the last slide. You go from left to right. You walk them through the processes that exist within their business, and you can zero in on where the pain is. You know, I really have a hard time, say, with subcontractor management and construction. What do you offer in that space? So it's a very effective tool. And sometimes if you only want to use one slide and you're with a prospect, we'll use this slide. We'll say, let's just talk about your business in the context of the slide. And we've developed it. We do have a version for advertising. We've got it for good old-fashioned professional services. We've got it for construction. We've done one for legal, so what have you. And we can certainly make those available. Another amazing, and I'm sure you know this, selling point in this industry, and we talked about collaboration, is our ability to leverage the other Microsoft products that they already have within their organization. Many of them have SharePoint today. They're using the Office suite. So we talk about that interoperability and how it can improve their total cost of ownership with AX, and it really, really works with a lot of organizations. Oh, did we skip the, oh, does it? Okay, I'm sorry. So many times people will ask me, why Microsoft, right, in this particular industry? What is it? First and foremost, we actually do have very good solutions by many of those subsegments that we showed you before. We are effectively selling into them. We have the core AX plus partner ISV solutions and partner IP that's been built on top of that. The flexibility of the application is something that we often stress. We'll tell the customer, look, we know the solution, whatever you buy, our solution, somebody else's, is going to be perfect for your business today. But we know in a year's time, something's going to change. You're going to acquire a company, you're going to divest of something, you're going to have an organizational change in the business, and you need to have a solution that can support that. That really, really works with them because a lot of them are coming off of these legacy SAP, Oracle solutions that have cost them way too much money and too much headache. The fact that they look like the Office products also really, really sells. The idea of having to train your people, get them comfortable with the application. They look at it and they say, oh my gosh. And the fact that we talked about the interoperability with the other products, particularly Excel, when you're talking to the finance division, how they can do their budgets in Excel and just pump them right in. Another thing that we try to stress every time we get in front of an organization, I personally have been selling solutions in this industry for 16 years. I've done a stint at PeopleSoft. I was acquired by Oracle, and then I worked for a company called Deltek. And I was also a Gartner analyst for many years. Looking at this, we have, in my opinion, one of, if not the largest dedicated team focused on this industry across all of our competitors. So we try to stress to them and show them the organizational chart, right? Who are we? Who's focused on this space? What does it look like from an R&D perspective? From an R&D perspective in terms of the guys doing the actual development who are dedicated to that, because we have a team that's dedicated just to the service industries. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we're stressing the actual investment that Microsoft is making on an annual basis in the dynamic space as well. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some future functionality that you're going to be seeing coming out soon. You may have seen some of this already throughout the conference, but let's just make sure we put a finer point on it. So this is not exclusive or a comprehensive final list, but these are some of the things you're going to see. So if you go into the Microsoft Store right now, you could download and it's just demo version for now, the multi-operating system expense capture, time entry, and approvals. You can go in there right now. You could be showing that to customers today. So I would encourage you to go in there and take a look and get it on your machine, okay? This is across all platforms, right? Android, iOS, and of course, Windows. Now, if we drop down, We're also going to be releasing these applications to support the tablet and Windows 8 devices, primarily laptops, with expense management. The difference between expense management and expense capture is expense capture, when you're mobile, just sends the expenses into the system. You can't go back and say, oh, I declined the expense report, provide more justification. Here you can. With the Windows 8 and the tablet offering, we're actually allowing you to have that two-way communication. So that's the slight difference. But you have the time entry and approvals that are there. And we're also going to be rolling out practice analytics, which is really, really important. So very nice metrics for reporting for practice management within some key service industries. Another big thing, and by the way, Sean's going to be showing some of this as well, sorry. So get a chance to see it. We're offering integration between the project client, okay? I'm not project server, because that's already there today, and you may have worked with that or not. But with regards to the project client, we're going to be integrating the project client with Dynamics AX. You can build your work breakdown structure in the project client and pull that right into AX if people want to do that, okay? We are also bringing forward tighter integration between Dynamics CRM and AX. You can now create an opportunity in Dynamics CRM, create the sales quotation, if you will, and then push that into AX. And then once you're in AX, you can pull up a project template, and you can create a more detailed work breakdown structure, get all the tasks. You can soft book your resources on it, get a really good feel for what that project is going to look like in the expense of that. Use the workflow in AX, get it routed to the management for approval. Once it's approved, pull it back into CRM, okay? And then create your proposal and send it away. So much better integration there between CRM and AX. We've been asked for that. And last but not least, we are also offering the ability to take the tasks assignments that have been created in the work breakdown structure in AX and to push them into SharePoint. So the individual who has tasks assigned to them can now see the tasks that they are asked to work on themselves when they go into SharePoint. So you can imagine a situation where you create a project in AX, you create a project team site, everyone's working there on the project, individuals go in there, then they can now see the actual individual tasks that have been assigned to them, as opposed to making it a manual effort that the project manager would have to send to the individual. Okay? So some really neat things coming forward for this space. And now it's time for Sean.
Okay, let's see. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. Good afternoon. I know it's late now, and this is a time when everybody is still trying to wake up from lunch. So I'm going to try to keep it a little lively as we go along. Today we're going to do a presentation that's going to go through a solution starting with a opportunity, turning that opportunity into a quotation and generating a project, and then we're going to look at monitoring the project with some of the things we have. One key thing with what I'm going to show is we're going to look at a total solution that goes across a lot of the different products that Microsoft offers. So it's not AX specific, it's not CRM specific, it's not SharePoint or Microsoft Project specific. It's a total solution that's comprised of all of these different technologies. So Ted touched on this briefly, but we are rolling out integration between Dynamics CRM and Dynamics AX. That's going to be coming available in a release toward the end of the year. And part of what I'm going to show here encompasses some of the early bits for that release. But basically, through the process that we're going to step through, we'll be able to create a quotation in Dynamics CRM. One of the things that you'll notice as I am doing this is that the product that I select from, I can now select project categories. So hours, expenses, those are all now going to show up from Dynamics AX into Dynamics CRM. And once we submit this quotation, it's then going to show up as a project quotation in AX where we can further detail out the quotation. And once it's been approved in AX, we'll be able to see that status change in Dynamics CRM. And once the project is actually initiated, we have a project entity in Dynamics CRM where we can actually track the status of the project. So the sales representative will have insight into the current activities on that project as they progress in Dynamics AX. So let's go ahead and get started here. And I'm going to start off in CRM. So first, before I begin with this, how many of you are currently partners working with Dynamics CRM? Okay, it looks like a lot of CRM partners. How many of you are focused on Dynamics AX? Wow, so pretty much all of you are working in both worlds right now. So that's really great because it's really key when we're showing a solution is we're showing a total solution for a services firm. It doesn't matter to them if it's CRM or AX. So let's go ahead and start off with making a new quotation. And for this example, we're going to be working with a accountancy, and this organization is doing audits for customers, and we're going to be doing an internal audit for the Rainbow Hotel. And so I'm going to go ahead and just give this quotation a name for internal audit. And we'll select a customer here. So this is just standard CRM, and I'm going to select the Rainbow Hotel. And I have to select the price list, so we'll go ahead and do that. And so this is all standard CRM at this point. So we have a quotation. So now I need to add some products. Actually, one key thing here, you notice we now have quote type project or sales. So we want this to be a project quotation. And I'm now going to go down into the quote products, and we're going to add some products to this quotation. Okay, so let's go ahead and select a product. So the first product I'm going to select is going to be project management. And I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to need 400 hours of project management for this. So pretty project management heavy on this project. We need to make sure that it's really well managed. So it's automatically gone ahead and brought in the amount and based off the price that we have specified. And if I go ahead and take a look at this project management type, you'll see that this is an hour. If I do the drop down here, you'll see that we now have expenses, fees, and service items. So that's all coming from the item types available in AX. So I'm going to go ahead and save and close out of here. So let's go ahead now and go back to the quote. And I'm going to submit this quote. And so what this is going to do is submit it over to Dynamics AX. And the idea is that the sales representative is able to stay in CRM, they're able to build a quote, and then it's going to go over to Dynamics AX where the project manager is going to be living. So the project manager is then going to be able to build out a more detailed quotation with a work breakdown structure. They're going to be able to look at resources they want to put on that project if it gets one, and they'll be able to approve it. So I'm going to jump over into AX. And I'll go ahead and refresh my form here. And you see we have a new quotation in AX that has magically appeared for a project quotation for internal audit for the Rainbow Hotel. So now I can open this up. And you'll see we have one line that's been created for project management for 400 hours for $80,000. And let me bring that back up. And so now that I have this in AX, I want to actually put a little more detail to it. So one of the things I can do is go into the work breakdown structure. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and set the calendar. And if you're familiar with work breakdown structure AX, we have the ability to create templates. So I have a template here for financial audit. So as a project manager, I'm able to go ahead and make use of the functionality we have in AX to reuse and make use of templates that we have defined. And so now that I have this template in here, now I can go in and schedule resources and build out my estimates for my cost and revenue on each activity. So I'll go ahead and just close this out. And maybe I want to add some additional lines in here too. So maybe we also are going to have some expenses on this. So I'm going to say maybe we're going to have flights, and we're going to need a couple flights on here. So let's go ahead and update this for 3 flights. And so we've gone ahead and updated that amount. As I'm doing this, this is actually updating in the background on the fly to Dynamics CRM. So if I jump back over into CRM, we're going to see that this is actually being updated in that quote. I'm going to go ahead and submit this, and it's going to go into the approval workflow in AX. Just submit it here. And so now that this has been submitted for approval, if I go back to Dynamics CRM, we'll see that the status has changed. So we'll see that right now the integration status is created in AX. If I go over to my quote, you'll see that we have the flights and we do have the project management. So since I've added the expenses, those now are being reflected on the quotation in Dynamics CRM. So I'm now going to go ahead and approve this in AX. So now that this has been approved, we're now going to see that change get reflected in Dynamics CRM. So the sales representative is now going to know that the project manager reviewed the quotation, they've added some additional detail to it, and they've approved it. So now I have full go-ahead to send this off to the opportunity and see if we can close this. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my quote, and I can see approved in AX. And so now that this is approved, I'm going to go ahead and click Activate. And we're going to say that we won the quote. So now that this has been won, we're now going to be able to go into Dynamics AX and actually initiate a project off of this. Okay, so I see that it is approved. And right now, because this is still kind of early days for this, I have to go through the process of actually clicking generate, but on the final release it is planned that this will automatically confirm the quotation after it's been won in CRM. So I'm just going to quickly confirm it here manually in AX. Okay, so now we're confirmed. So at this point, we're now able to transfer this to a project. So this is the standard Project Wizard functionality we have in AX 2012 that allows us to take the quotation and transfer that over into a forecast, and then transfer that WBS that we built out in the quotation and transfer it over into a new or an existing project. I'm going to do a new project in this case, and I'm going to choose to transfer my work breakdown structure. And we'll go ahead and give this a ID. I'll just call this WPC 3. And we'll say this is a time and material project. And we'll assign it to a contract. And I'm going to choose to transfer these items over to a forecast. So we'll be able to build our budget off of what we quoted originally in Dynamics CRM. And I'm going to click Finish. And so this is now going to initiate our project over in Dynamics AX. So now if I go over into Projects, we will see our newly created project. Now one of the things that we've also added here is the ability to synchronize this project back to Dynamics CRM. So here's my internal audit project. And I'm going to click Edit here, and we have this option now for Synchronize to Dynamics CRM. So I'm going to check that, and I'm also going to change the project stage to In Process. So this is going to allow us to start transacting against the project, so we can start entering hours and expenses. All right, so we're going to close that out. And so now let's go back to Dynamics CRM and let's see if we are able to view the project. So if I go over to Projects here, we'll see we have a listing of projects that have been enabled for synchronization. And if I sort on the project ID, I should see my WPC3 internal audit project. So now I can click on here and get some detail into the project. And we can see that it's been created. And so as the project is worked on, the project stage will get updated and move along, and you'll be able to keep track and see how that is processing from Dynamics CRM. Now one other thing that is really nice for keeping up to date on these things is we also have Yammer. So for example, I can have a Yammer group for my Rainbow Hotel customer, and I can ask on here, how is the project going? And update that. And we're going to jump over into Dynamics CRM now, or Dynamics AX actually. So I've just gone ahead and updated my Yammer. So now I'm at the Dynamics AX Practice Manager Role Center. So you'll notice that the Role Center has a lot of great information for me as a practice manager to look across how things are going within my practice. A couple things we have are KPIs. I have my queues where I can see things like how many timesheets are outstanding to be approved, resumes that we've received. I can also see how many active projects I have. And I have my Yammer feed that I've embedded in here. Since AX on the Role Center utilizes SharePoint, it's really easy to just go ahead and embed a web part with the Yammer feed. So you can see that I actually have my Rainbow Hotel feed surfaced into my Role Center. And I have this update that was posted just 1 minute ago. It's already showing up here, so I can actually like that and reply directly within my Role Center here. So if you are looking at Yammer or haven't, if you're doing AX, it's really easy to utilize Yammer within the Role Center in this method. So I definitely recommend taking a look at it. And the great thing about this is these groups can be both internal and they can be public, so you can share this with customers, so customers can also post on the feed and have the ability to interact with the project team. One other area that I want to highlight is on the BI side, we have some reports that have been built with PowerView. So with PowerView, we're able to have really nice, engaging, interactive reports. And these are working off of the AX Analysis Services cubes. And so if I'm wanting to get insight into how all the projects are doing across the area that I am currently doing consulting, I can see here in the U.S. that I have a number of projects. And these projects, if I look at the bubbles, these actually represent the revenue opportunity for those projects. So I can see very quickly where my largest projects are as far as revenue. And I can click on any one of these and highlight them, and quickly see what my actual versus budget is. And since this is an analysis services and it's Power Pivot, it's really easy to go ahead and change the view and have a different look in this data. So for example, if I wanted to take a look here at my expenses in more detail, I can actually click on here and drill down. And this is automatically drilling down through the cube data, so I didn't actually have to build anything special to make this work. And it's now showing me my expenses by category. So I can see how much is being spent on flights, lodging, meal expenses. And I can even go into another view here, and if I want to look at my hour utilization, I can go ahead and jump over maybe to September and take a look at the projects that were active and drill down and see how many employees were working and what their hours were for those projects for that month. And it's also really easy to go ahead and change the look and feel of these. We can also do full screen mode. So if you haven't played with Power View much, I definitely recommend utilizing it as part of your solution because it really provides a great platform. One last thing here, since we also need to collaborate and work on that project, SharePoint 2013 offers a really beautiful project collaboration site capability. So this is, again, the internal audit project we're working on. And we have this WBS that's been brought in, and it's shown on the nice graphical timeline at the top. And then we also have our task list here. And this task list allows us to see who the activities have been assigned to, and it also has integration with links, so we can go ahead and get presence awareness and see if we need to message someone on the project to let them know if they need to keep an update on something. And one nice thing with these lists is that they also interact with Microsoft Project and Outlook. So I can open this up with Project and take this work breakdown structure and interact with it in Microsoft Project. I can take all the tasks, and if I connect those to Outlook, they'll open up into my Outlook task list. So we're able to have this complete synergy across all of the products where, you know, it's no longer about what product you're going to use. It's a total solution based off the stack. So let's go ahead and jump over now and talk a little bit about some of the companion apps that we have coming out for Windows 8. And these are also available on the Windows Store for demo right now. And we also have them available for demo in the expo hall. There's actually a booth there. And so let's take a look at some of the apps that we have. And I'm actually going to start up a emulator real fast here to show this. If you are demoing apps, you can either do it on the tablet. One thing that I've been doing that I really like is if you have Visual Studio, there's a simulator that comes with it. And so if the simulator, what you can do is pop up basically a virtual tablet on your desktop. And so it gives you the look and feel of Windows 8, and this is actually running off of your machine, so you just install it to your machine. And so, for example, I want to show the timesheets here. So with the timesheets, I'm going to go ahead and go into touch mode. This allows us to, upon first entry, get some rich BI into the hours that we have posted across the different days that we've entered timesheets in. I can also very quickly create a new timesheet here and start entering hours in. So I'll go ahead and enter in a couple hours here for Monday. So let's say maybe I worked 8 hours. I don't think I worked 18 hours. That would be a fun day. And so I get this nice graphical view of my hours, and I'll go ahead and jump over into one where we have some more time entered in. But as we're entering in these hours, we also get these nice charts so that we can very quickly see where our time is going to on the different projects. So I can see what projects I have spent the most time on. So I can see in this example that the Dynamics implementation project is taking the bulk of my time. And I can also see that project management and management consulting are some of my primary activities. I can also get a more detailed view into the individual lines. And so that's the timesheet view. Yes?
Let's just show the timesheets.
Okay. All right, so these again are available at the Expo Hall. They're also available on the Windows Store. So I definitely recommend checking out the new Windows 8 apps. And these are going to be officially available with working versions of the release toward the end of the year. All right. Well, thank you.
Great. Back? Okay. So the one thing that we want to make sure that we communicate is a big part of the strategy in terms of rolling out these new integrations with like SharePoint and Microsoft Project, et cetera, is to provide the ability for companies to do the work where they're most comfortable doing it. Let's put the application and the information in the hands of people where they're most comfortable doing it. And that's been a driving force in a lot of the work that's been done here. In terms of a call to action, how many of you are actually servicing, if you will, or selling into the service industries today? All right, so we're very pleased to see that. Those of you who may be looking at coming into the service industries, we actually have more demand than we have capacity. We are seeing a tremendous amount of interest in this space. So if you're not currently going after this industry and you're interested in it, we absolutely would like to talk to you. We're looking for partners that have truly international reach. The size of the opportunities continue to grow. They're going multinational in many respects, and we want to make sure that we have the capacity to service those deals. We also obviously want partners that have expertise in at least one of those areas that we highlighted when Elliot showed. It actually breaks down to about 17 different subsegments in terms of the verticals that we focus on. We also want to make sure that we are telling the full one Microsoft story. It sells a lot better when you bring in SQL reporting services and SharePoint and Link and Skype and all that, Microsoft Project, because many times they're already using those applications today. And we're focusing predominantly on our managed accounts. So if you're looking at it from a CTM, CAM, EPG level, we're focusing on all of those as opportunities for both CRM and AX. We have a lot of content, a lot of collateral. If you haven't seen it, please go out there and take a look or contact us. We're going to give you our emails in just a second. Elliot referenced the service industry's white paper. It really speaks to our point of view on this industry. We have a lot of information on partner source for this space. We do have a new program out there. We introduced level 300 certification for AX, and now we're offering an additional Solutions Excellence certification. So I would encourage you to explore that as well, talk about that. And we have a partner advisory board. We have criteria for partners to be part of this partner advisory board if you are focused on the service industries. If you're interested in being a part of that, we just met on Sunday. We had 19 partners represented there, both on the CRM and AX side combined. It was a very good meeting, a lot of interesting dialogue. The criteria, we're not going to go into them, but they've been designed for both large established partners. It's not just based on revenue. There's also some criteria for smaller partners who have the skill set and the knowledge of the industry. You're just not necessarily the size of some of the larger partners out there. So again, if you're interested in that, please let us know. We'd love to talk to you about it. There's our contact. I go by Ted. My name is actually Edward. Don't be confused. It's my parents' fault. So I'm Edward K. at Microsoft. You have Elliot Ichimura back there. If you need to get in contact with this guy, we certainly can make that happen too. We're right at the top of the hour. Thank you so much for your time.